Hello again and welcome from the deep. I am Book of Brett and I am coming to you with another episode of Why the F***. Today we are going to be reviewing the new Snow White. They're calling it a remake. It's a reimagining because this thing holds on to everything that is Snow White for about 30 minutes and then devolves into whatever the hell Disney decided they wanted to do with it from there on out. Now, I know that I am coming to this movie fairly late. Mostly, just full disclosure, we need to put an episode out. I never really had any interest in doing this at all. And the original plan for this episode was for me to make a piece on how Taylor Sheridan is basically the writer's Steven Seagal. But that was starting to turn into a hate piece about one person. And I thought it would be better to have a hate piece about this dumpster fire of a movie that they are calling the new Snow White.
Are you happy?
We all saw the backstory about Snow White as far as Peter Dinklage running his mouth about how it was a backwards story. I'm sorry, Peter Dinklage, I hate to break it to you, but this story is hundreds of years old and they weren't exactly PC back then. Now, I do want to talk about this whole Peter Dinklage thing before we get into why this movie sucks so unbelievably hard. Now, I'm sure we all know about Peter Dinklage and his input on the movie, but in case you're unaware, Peter Dinklage had a problem with them using little people as the dwarves because I guess it wasn't PC enough. Now, I know Peter Dinklage has made a whole thing about not wanting to play stereotypical characters, but I hate to break it to Peter Dinklage, you're not the fucking president of little people. And all it caused them to do was create computer-generated dwarves for this movie and have them be voiced by regular-sized or normie-sized actors, which means you still have dwarves in the movie, you can't get rid of them, they're kind of integral to the story, and all you did was take jobs away from those little people. And the best part about this is there is still a little person in this movie. He just doesn't play a dwarf, so I guess that makes it better. That all aside, that doesn't even touch what makes this movie so unbelievably bad. The first thing that I noticed that was really terrible about this movie was not Gal Gadot's performance, which, by the way, is atrocious. The first thing they do that deviates so much from the original is they made it a musical. And I mean, we are talking a like Moana-esque amount of songs. It's too many songs. I don't know if they're just trying to increase the runtime. I don't know if Disney knows this, but you are not making YouTube videos. Retaining view time does not equal any kind of numbers for you. What would equal better numbers for you is, I don't know, making a good fucking movie. They give us exposition in this movie that basically explains and gives this backstory to a bunch of shit that we really don't need. It doesn't do anything for the movie. It doesn't help anything. And I can only imagine it's in there to cater to this like universe obsessed culture that we're living in. Everyone is obsessed with backstory. We got to know why this happened. We've got to know why that happened. We don't need any of that for a story like Snow White, and yet we are given it in spades. But none of it was necessary. And this movie not only deviates from so many of the things that made the original so good, it adds in things that make this kind of fall apart pretty fucking quick. We're given way too much insight into what is going on outside of Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, and I can only imagine this is a big part of why it's called Snow White and not Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The dwarves are not a big part of this. I mean, they are there, don't get me wrong, they are there, but I feel like all the charm, all the impact that the dwarves had in the first one, in the original, in the 1937 original, is gone. And I think a lot of that might be because of the near lifeless animation that we get for the dwarves. The animation for the dwarves almost made me feel kind of like how a lot of people felt about the animation for the Polar Express. It looked good. it looked photorealistic. And I will say, the way they look is very, very good. The quality of the actual construction of the dwarves is very good. There are times when the ADR for the dwarves doesn't match what their lips are doing. Grumpy stood out the most of the dwarves to me, because there are times where he has almost like a southern accent, and then there's the majority of the time where it's not there at all. So I'm not really too sure what the was going on with that. But it's, again, we have a collection of bad elements that equal a very terrible movie. Now, I know this movie was review bombed. I want to say, I can't remember which aggregator it was. Now, that's possible. However, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that this movie deserves every bad review that it got. I do want to say Rachel Zegler does do an amazing job in this. She is the only fire extinguisher in this movie, keeping it from being a towering inferno, and keeps it right within dumpster fire territory. Now, I knew there were going to be problems with this from the very beginning when they explain why Snow White got her name. Snow White in this one, rather than in the original where she's named Snow White because she has skin as white as snow, which we can't do that anymore. In this one, she is named Snow White because she was born during a blizzard. And this opening scene is just, it amazes me how much effort they put into inclusion and being PC, and yet this opening scene is the like epitome of upper class privilege, because when she's born in this blizzard, and we get this wide shot coming in close to her carriage, and while the queen has given birth to Snow White and is smiling, all of her subjects are outside in this blizzard trying to dig out the carriage. So in one scene, we get this, I'm trying to be inclusive and we're trying not to focus on her skin color, but f these peasants.
Well, I am king. Oh, king, very nice.
It's this like blatant contradiction that I don't know if anybody else noticed, and maybe I'm just too cynical of an asshole to not notice it, but it is just clear as day. I mentioned before that there are pacing issues, and those pacing issues are a direct result of trying to cram too much story into a story that really doesn't need it. I mean, we are jumping all over the place here. We've got whatever the queen is up to. We've got whatever Snow White is up to. We've got rebels in this one. There's rebels. There don't need to be rebels, but why the not bringing that in? And so we've got so much going on here that the pacing struggles dramatically. Now, I could sit here and go on and on and on about the individual problems that this movie has, and they are abundant. There are many problems in this movie. There's basically issues from the opening credits to the end. Two main problems I have with this movie are indicative of the issues I have with all of the Disney remakes that Disney is doing. One goes back to the songs. Disney is doing this thing where they'll include some of the original songs in these movies and then feel the need to interject new songs into them that nobody asked for, nobody needed, and they don't add anything. And the biggest problem with that is that what happens is you include these original songs that are written so long ago that have a certain feeling to them, that were written at a time where it mattered if the music fit the vibe and not just whether or not we could write new songs. And what happens is these new songs stick out like a sore thumb when contrasted with the original songs. And what that ends up doing is just taking away from it completely. It makes everything feel so haphazard and scatterbrained, like we just kind of needed to put these in there and we didn't really care about how it affected the overall vibe of the film. And before anybody says anything, I get it's a fucking kids movie, but still from the aspect of a good or bad movie, this makes this feel even worse than it really needs to. If this was like Moana, I didn't like Moana because I don't like musicals, but at least in that movie, all the songs felt like they fit, even if there were too many of them. The problem, though, is not just with the abundance of the songs, it's not just with how they contrast with the original songs and the original score. They all feel the same. It's kind of like listening to a band where one album after the other kind of just feels like the one before it. And I don't know if it's laziness, I don't know if it's apathy, I don't know really what it is, but they all seem to have the same kind of vibe. And again, that's where the problem comes in, is these new songs feel like half-ass pop songs mixed with half-ass show tunes, and then you put them in the same movie as something where they gave a shit about the music because it was such a big part of it that it just ends up sticking out like a sore thumb. The only other specific thing that I'm really going to mention in this review that is the biggest glaring problem about how Disney doesn't give a fuck about their source material is Dopey. Dopey is a beloved character. Everybody loved Dopey because he's sweet. And in this one, he's sweet, but first of all, at one point they're bullying him, which, what the fuck is that all about? And the other thing is, at a certain point, the motherfucker starts talking.
Oh my God! You can talk!
The whole thing with Dopey was that he didn't talk. It was one of his endearing qualities. It's what caused a lot of people to open their hearts so widely to him. And they took that aspect of his character and they just threw it to the wind. And not only at some point in this movie does he start talking, but we find out at the end of the movie, he's the one that's been narrating the fucking thing the whole time. Again, it's just a blatant example of Disney not giving a shit about their source material. And to me personally, when they don't give a shit about their source material, it tells me they don't give a fuck about their legacy. It tells me that they don't give a shit about the integrity of their viewers. And it shows me that they know people are gonna go watch this shit regardless. So they don't have to care. And if they don't have to care, if they're not willing to put in the effort to make spending the money worth it, why the fuck are we still spending the money to go see these movies?
It flames on the side of my face.
Now, I know what people are gonna say. Brett, you went and saw it in theaters. You spent your money. I have a subscription to AMC. I pay for the pass, and this was just a reason for me to go ahead and fill up one of my 3 movies of the week, because quite honestly, there's not a lot of good shit out there right now. There just isn't. I'm gonna keep this to that because I think at this point we've driven this movie into the ground with all the reviews. Everybody knows that this is a terrible fucking movie, but I had to get it off of my chest. So this is almost more like a video essay. This is almost like a video journal of me telling you guys, I can't believe I went and saw this. I can't believe I was able to get through it on 1 beer. I really, at one point, I was planning on just getting shit-faced and Ubering home to make my day feel like I had accomplished something, even if that meant killing a few brain cells. Let me know what you thought down in the comments of Snow White. Did you go see it? Are you planning on going and seeing it? If you didn't, are you gonna wait for it to come out? And if you did go see it, let me know what you thought. If you did like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you're liking the content that we're putting out, hit that subscribe button. I know we've had a lot of new subscribers come. Thank you so much for checking out the channel and being willing to stick around. Oh, and also don't forget to hit that little doorbell down there, or the little whatever bell thing, to get alerts whenever we put new content out. And I will see you guys next time.